Hello, everyone, and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming full moon in the sign of Capricorn taking place on the 22nd of June 2024. Now, this energy is a little bit more complex than meets the eye, and one of the main reasons for that is this is one of the first from two full moons taking place one after another in the same sign, so Capricorn. I do believe that the second full moon is going to take place around the 21st of July, so next month, and that full moon is going to be at around 29 degrees of Capricorn. So I do believe I said everything that there is need to be, even for those listeners who are not very knowledgeable of astrology, just listening back to the last couple of years horoscopes, whenever we mentioned 29 of Capricorn, there was some kind of trouble or intensity or stir up of events, regardless from which perspective. But this one, so the one that is the theme of this present recording, takes place at around 1 degree 7 minutes of the sign of Capricorn. So we already see that this is obviously a karmic marriage. The beginning one and the end of the sign 29 degree. So this is where straight off the bat, we know that Capricorn is going to be under a lot of pressure. Now, of course, please, I do not mean that Capricorn sun sign people are going to be under a lot of pressure, because it doesn't really work like that. What I mean is everything that is ruled by the sign of Capricorn energetically, quantumly, symbolically, philosophically, and from, you get where I'm going with this, is gonna be, well, of course, under a lot of pressure. And this is when at least a part of a massive transformation sinks in or is revealed, or it dawns on us that, well, look, my life, because all of us have this Capricorn in one area of our lives, even if we are not Capricorn sons, even if we don't have anything natally in Capricorn, this full moon is gonna be this, and the following one is gonna be very much there. So it may just dawn on us how much, how intensely, how profoundly one area of our lives, or maybe two, have, but these two are, they are related to one another. Because, for example, this may be two separate houses, but those are next to each other. So it's like an evolutionary a ladder, basically. So how profoundly these have already transformed are changing, transforming as we speak forever, basically. It's never going to be the same again. But of course, Pluto is aiming towards the 29 degrees of Capricorn himself. Pluto is retrograde, already moving backwards, already moving towards that 0 degree of Aquarius, and then 29 degree of Capricorn. This is where 0 degree of one sign and 29 degree of the previous sign are in a way connected, because the beginning and the end. So Pluto is also aiming there. It has its just like a dartboard, the bullseye. Pluto is locked onto that, and it's slowly but consistently and surely towards this autumn moving back to that degree. So whatever these lunations, these two lunations reveal, put down on the table, because full moon is a culmination, a completion. Why not? many times manifestation. Capricorn itself is the stage of manifestation, regardless of how we look at it. You know, as above, so below. Well, Capricorn is exactly the principle of that. It is below in the earthly sense, but it is above because that is the highest octave of manifestation. It receives it. Anyway, so this can be something that actually, let me just say it like this, mobilizes things in our lives materially or in a real felt way. So we must keep that in mind, that this can be, whatever happens now can be very real, and it can also be a game changer, not necessarily in a Uranian way, that it's out of the blue, because it's not out of the blue, because all of us know one way or another in our own unique ways, with our gut, with our mind, with our calculations, with our dreams, intuition, instinct. So some part of us knows, regardless of our configuration and archetype, that things are brewing, that things are really, really, how should I say, reacting, mixing, something is forming under the surface. So we know this. So of course that shows itself. And these two lunations are going to be part of this energy. And it also prepares the stage for whatever Pluto is going to slowly and gradually over the summer and until autumn bring to the table. Because from Pluto's perspective, this is quite a relevant, short but relevant moment, because after Pluto will start its permanent journey in Aquarius. So even though this is a very short dip back into Capricorn, it's going to be very intense. And these lunations are preparing us from more than one perspective, of course, exactly for this. And the emotional factor is also going to be very, very important, because on one hand, the sun illuminates this full moon from Cancer, the moon's home. So it's very personal to the moon. Even if in the sign of Capricorn, the stage of manifestation, like, we just take it in because it comes down into matter. So we look at what just came down into matter. You know what I mean? We don't have at the moment of the lunation, but not necessarily astrologically, but more spiritually to be understood. At the moment of lunation, it's when we witness it. The work that was input was uh, much more before the moment of completion. So this is when we get something. This is when something is born and we see it for what it is already, or something ends perhaps. Because, you know, an ending might be the theme, because the full moon holds a semi-sextile, a minor astrological conversation, but still with Pluto. They're just in neighboring signs at the same degree. So that means that Pluto, the change, the force of change, or truth, or something, a perspective, a point of view, or an information that we cannot disregard, that we need to take into consideration. It's not going anywhere, it's intense. Or let me put it in a totally different context. A big karmic moment in our lives that it's personal, very, very personal, but Pluto in Aquarius. It doesn't matter, because when something is really impacting the collective, that also impacts us, regardless of what is taking place in our lives. Our most, let's say, happiest moments, or any other, whatever happens in the collective that is so impactful will impact us as well, regardless if it's financial, economic, political, structural, social, cultural. Because again, moon in Cancer, ethnicity, community, the human collective, nations within a country, within a borders, all of that is part of Cancer. All of that is ruled by Cancer. So the sun, again, I must say, it illuminates this full moon from Cancer. Now, the other element is that the aspect that this full moon holds, now this is a bit unusual because it holds a T square. So that means both the sun from Cancer and the moon from Capricorn hold the same type of square with Neptune. But you might say Neptune is in Pisces, right? How is that a square? Well, Neptune is at 29 degrees at the time of this full moon. Let me just catch it. Here it is. So 29 degrees and 54 minutes of the sign of Pisces. So that means in a certain way, it's already dipped into 0 degree of Aries. So that can make it a cardinal, a cardinal energy, a grand cross. Why grand cross? Because Black Moon Lilith is at 29 degrees of Virgo, opposing Neptune. So Black Moon Lilith, even if it's not a planet, it's just a degree, a point. Well, it's a little bit dipped into Libra, 0 degree of Libra, isn't it? So that's already something on the world stage. Even if it's, in a way, maybe it will come across rather indirectly, right? Because technically speaking, it's still not 0 degree of Libra Aries. It's just 29 degree of the previous sign. So it's a bit indirect, but it's still impacting the world stage. Especially that 0 degree of the cardinals is always something public, something out there, something very visible, something that is kind of to be witnessed, to be beheld by everyone, the collective. So yeah. The other energy is that, and this might not have anything to do personally with the full moon, but still, Mercury in Cancer. So again, Cancer, people, the community, Mercury news, information, etc., holds a semi-square, half square with Uranus, its higher octave. So news that kind of shocks the community, the people, an ethnic group, families. Like maybe there is something within a country that a law, a legislation, a movement, a decision, a leader decides. Why Capricorn is all about leaders, leadership, management, regardless in which shape and form, including the most primal leader of a family. So usually a father figure. I said father figure. I didn't say the gender. So father figure, that can very well be the mother or a female or the child sometimes. Yeah, I saw examples when the child is the actual parent and the parents are the child. But anyway, anything that has to do with leadership, hierarchy, top-down authority, so that is illuminate. Something and it hits the news again. Mercury half square Uranus, and it's shocking. It might be financial, Taurus, but it can very well be a calamity. News of some, because Uranus in the sign of Taurus, and shaking up of the earth, shake up. Remember back in April, or was, I do believe 21st of April or 22nd, something like that, the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction. That is the energy of that very strong meeting of planets. Well, it still reverberates. So again, natural calamities are still very much the theme of this summer. And, one of the calamities that is starting to the heat waves and the extreme heat. And Mars is in Taurus, but Taurus can represent the earth being fried, the oven. Mars, and Aries, which is also fire, has still quite a lot of planets in there. Aries, Chiron, the North Node. Okay, it's not a planet, but Salasha is there, and more dwarf planets. So that's one thing. Now the other is that Saturn is the ruler of this full moon. So let me hide. This is the sun, moon, perfect opposition at the full moon. Pluto, the half square, and then let me illuminate Black Moon Lilith, the Neptune, an erratic Neptune. And since the ruler of the full moon is Saturn, well, Saturn is conjunct an asteroid Nessus, so a centaur. A centaur who is usually symbolizes deception and vengeance, and their Ixion son, if you know dwarf planet Ixion. So the father of Nessus is himself in the sign of Capricorn. And speaking about the devil Ixion, at 4 degrees of Capricorn, very close to the full moon. So treachery, betrayal, or a corrupt leader. Speaking about corrupt leader, Uranus getting closer and closer and closer to Algol. Algol, the demonic fixed star, which usually represents tyrannic, ruthless, cruel leaders, or the cruelty of power, greed, or you get what I mean. So things are, when Mercury activated, Venus Mercury activated Algol, Iran is, or Iran's, I'm so sorry. One of either Iran or Iraq's leader died in a helicopter crash. So things are getting tensioned, karmically speaking, for big leaders, regardless if it's world leader, leader of a state, leader of a bank, leader of whatever. Leaders are gonna be under pressure. But of course, it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. Uranus brings the revolutionary, the heroes, the maverick, the unusual, the opposer, the rebel, you know what I mean? The challenger. So usually the heroes are also, when the tyrant falls, well, who's gonna take? You know what I mean? And before I get to the rest of the aspect, I would just like to quickly mention the Sabian symbol of this full moon, which is windows in a Gothic church. And when I say windows, these are the beautiful rose or ornamental windows where, an artist has to really spend a lot of time and energy to, and regardless in which day and age, that type of handiwork is that type of handiwork. and one of them damaged by a bomb. How strikingly symbolic and suggestive of what is happening in so very many parts of the world right now. Now, what does this mean? Well, full moon, it shines a light on this. This symbol can be interpreted in Neptune, T square to Neptune. It is what we make of it. It can be seen quite melancholically speaking. The artist's work, the beauty, the creation, the soul, the spirit, Neptune. That the artist, any artistic work, especially the proper spiritual art, which you find in a temple, church, tomb, anything that relates to something spiritual and even philosophical, that's the proper spirit. The artist truly, literally channeled the spirit. That's the closest manifestation, Capricorn, we get to this. That's it. That's the proper it. But then, one damaged by bomb. What war does, you know? But two of three windows are still standing. So the damage, but the damage can also be seen as the moral value. Yes, the war, the cruelty, the horrors of war, yet it is exactly those moments that remind all of us of how important the sacred creation, the beauty, the peace that we once had, how important those were in our lives. And it is like an encouragement for us to put much more Capricorn power, importance into those values and those who represent us. Those who represent us are also Capricorn ultimately, but they're also a bit Aquarius because they have to be the symbols of the people. Pluto is there, we must not forget. And yet another perspective that we can attribute to the Sabian symbol, sometimes in life, the creational force of the spirit, the art, the church window, ultimately, and the spirit of destruction and death and the bad things coexist, are hand in hand. Sometimes they can't be separated. Sometimes miracles, sacredness, the most highest and elevated manifestations of the spirit require the most challenging, violent, hopeless, and troublesome times. You know, a miracle is not gonna appear just like that. For sheer, you know, a miracle needs the situation to be the opposite of the miracle. So extraordinary, dire, or that which no one has ever lived or seen before. So, and also, thank you so much, Lucy, for your generosity and also your question. Miracle, because she asked me if miracle can be seen, if miracle has like an astrological formula to it. You get what I'm saying. And some astrologers might very quickly come with, well, this and that and that. But in essence, in truth, no. Because astrology or anything is where the mind fathoms something. We figure something out. Miracles and miraculous manifestations are by their nature unforeseeable, unfathomable, and they don't have to respect any law, not even physics, nothing at all. They can go against anything they wish. You know, when a situation is, for example, totally hopeless, totally, and there it is. It defies logic, it defies chaos, it even defies chaos. It defies both destruction and creation itself, because that's a miracle. It defies every aspect that usually is known to us of the divine. Something totally unthinkable happens. Now, that is basically the miracle. So it cannot be foreseen. It can, if anything can foresee it, that's the faith of the heart. When your faith is not going anywhere. Yes, Neptune again, an erratic Neptune. That can very well be an aggressive delusion, but that can also be the strongest faith. How do we know the difference? We need to black moon Lilith in Virgo. We just know the difference from right and wrong deep down in our gut. And when our gut says, I have nothing against your faith, then we know that what we believe in is something we're meant to believe in, regardless of how and what happens. You know what I mean? And this is the best way we can use this energy, because another very minor, let's say, astrological aspect is that this full moon, the moon, is trined by asteroid Hecate. So, asteroid of divination, a lunar deity, magic, divination, foresight, dreams, the psyche, and in the sign of Virgo, purity, a pure vision. Something reveals itself as it is in its most pure form. Okay, in our personal lives, let's think of all the good stuff. Why not? Okay, didn't you say outer sign square with Neptune in Pisces, so the grand illusion? Well, absolutely, but this T square or grand cross, if we want to include Lilith into it, Black Moon Lilith, may be a disillusion, but no one says that can be bad. A dream is seen for what it can be here down on earth, and that is ultimately wonderful and positive if we take it like that. Or we can, oh, well, but it doesn't meet my expect. Don't do that. That's where it's the devil. Capricorn is also the devil. That's the devil. Take it as it comes, because the real element, like Moon Lilith and Virgo, of course you will dissect it in your mind, but it's a matter of choice. How wonderful that something that I need or want, because you know this full moon is karmically built on something. Something is culminating in your life. How wonderful that that is here or that ended. Um, the job of your nightmares ended. You finally made the right step. Good news, right? Or, you know, it can be very, very positive, regardless of how it comes. However, collectively out there, well, something might drown Neptune, a vessel. Something might stir up at seas. And remember Nessus, deception. But Saturn, well, especially in Pisces, it can either be the malefic, there is deception, or there is like sabotage, some kind of sabotage there. But it can also be the restrictive principle, enough of deception as sabotage, at least for a while, you know, enough of that. It can restrict the lie, the deception. It can show something in its starkest form, in its realest form, because Saturn can restrict the illusion of Pisces and Neptune. It might say, okay, the square with Neptune. It can also represent that Neptune, for a small moment, for a glimpse, a full moon, It lifts the veil. Well, look, guys, this is it. This is the closest thing we can get to a truth or the reality of a situation. And Saturn with Nessus can also work in this kind of favor. And full moon conjunct Ixion. And now this is where, please take it with a pinch of salt, what I'm gonna say next. The moon is also conjunct fixed star spiculum. And that's not a very benevolent fixed star, because what it does, the reality of the situation, but a reality has also an emotional side to it. You know what I mean? Like it or not, let me give you a really morbid but appropriate example, especially that it's the case. Neptune and Pisces at anaretic degree sometimes means prison, okay? Someone is sentenced to prison and they just find out their sentence. Well, you can imagine that it doesn't matter how prepared they were or whatever, it's still gonna impact them emotionally, even if they do not show it. So let's agree on that it will have an emotional element, even if they're happy for that. Because let's say they got a month instead of a year or much more. Yay. That's definitely yay. But there's also that fact that, well, for a month, I'm not going to be a very happy boy or girl. You know what I mean? So there's that. The emotion of it. So if we decide, or we catalog, or we judge, sentence something, a situation emotionally, like again, the example, well, this is doomed. Okay, external reality might say that it's doomed, but then the emotion has to sink in that, yep, this is not gonna be okay. And speculum, this not so fortunate fixed star, is exactly that. Well, the moment when it sinks in, the harshest type of reality sink in. Like, let me give you a mild example. When there's a man and he had a little business like a shop, or for example fisherman or whatever, a trade all his life, and hard times hit and he has to close his business a few years before his retirement. And you can imagine how he feels, what he feels the moment when it sinks in that, well, yes, this is a reality, and chances are saving your business, even if a miracle happens, times changed. It's not the same world you used to trade in. Time to let it go. So of course he will feel that, the hopeless doom. sorry, but maybe Neptune and Pisces, the T square, the next chapter immediately comes hand in hand. He already has something on the table, either an early retirement plan where his best buddy from 20 years ago, I don't know, bought a private island, come and help me build my house or whatever. You can imagine that will be like stepping into, literally into another dimension for that man. So you know what I mean. Let's accept it for how it comes, and the duality of it. This is one side. 21st of July is gonna be yet another side. So, let's wait and see where this energy is actually taking us. The other element, if we necessarily want to insist Venus is conjunct the sun, and Venus loves being in the sign of Cancer. She is her more artistic, her more nurturing, her more compassionate and passionate in a watery, like motherly way. A mother's passion for her family and children are one of the most elevated passions in the known universe. You know what I mean? So there is a really good side to this as well. Another really good side to this is that Mercury, present in Cancer, holds a sextile with Mars. So that's really good. Why? Well, on one hand, Mars in the sign of Taurus, giving a shape and form to compassionate thoughts, compassionate gestures, anything that we do to nurture, to support, to help, to be there for another person or someone in a difficult situation, or generally speaking, or for the community, or however we express compassion, it gets really, really a long, long way. Especially words, nourishing words. Many times words can bestow confidence, they can bestow a smile, they can bestow comfort, they can really, really make a difference. And this is one of those aspects. So even though this fixed star speculum is a bit so and so, especially that it can also represent great cruelty, the cruelty of leaders, or the cruelty of worldly affairs, worldly matters, where, for example, no regard for human life. And I'm not saying this, Ptolemy is. So I know that this is so very in theme with what's happening right now, but it's not my opinion. It actually what is specific to this fixed star. But the good news, if that is revealed in a big sense, it can be the end of that, the end. Remember, the ruler of the full moon is Saturn. Saturn in tarot is the world, completion, giving it a shape and form. Now, understand this symbolic because I can't speak freely. Pisces rules, as I said, confinement, prison. Saturn is karma, what was decided by Jupiter, because Saturn and Jupiter are two principles that need one another. Jupiter comes with the big dream, but not in a Neptunian way. The principle, the philosophy, the seed of intention in its highest form, the thought of it. Saturn is ultimately the one who gives that shape and form and makes that real. So, and Capricorn, top down authority, state, big people, uh, semi-sextile with Pluto, power, but power of the people. Aquarius, speaking about people, Sun quincunx Pluto. So there is gonna be agitation. There is gonna be some stir up. Again, Neptune opposing Black Moon Lilith. Well, Black Moon Lilith in Virgo, this is the stark reality, basically, Black Moon Lilith. And because the rational Virgo, real is real, opposing Neptune, but it is us who decide what that actually means. For that part is totally up for us personally. So you get where I'm going with this. So, and also this is the first lunation, lunar activity after the Cancer solstice, summer solstice where I live, and winter solstice in the opposite hemisphere. So it's important. It's karmic. It marks the theme. Things are gonna be unfolding this summer on the world stage, on top-down authority leadership, people versus, and because a lot of this, not just this lunation, a lot of other energies are strongly, like agitating the chart of the United States. The United States is going to be a player in whatever international stuff unfolds. So let's expect, and leadership and economy and all of that. So these are keywords that are definitely going to ring in the United States. So all we can do is T-square with Neptune, interpret it for ourselves in the most possible elevated but non-delusional way. Neptune opposing Black Moon Lilith. It has to be Neptune elevated. It has to give a meaning, but Black Moon Lilith and Virgo, it can be delusional. Like it means I rather not use examples for this, but we can't say that the devil is an angel when we know that it's the devil. When we see the devil for what he is, that's when we have to stop the, what I mean. But again, in our own personal lives, this can be an important moment. So this can be quite positive, quite intense, and the first part of a larger unfolding. We'll see where the second full moon takes us. Of course, that will be the theme of another recording. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for all the love, all the support. Thank you for all the messages and all the beautiful words that I received from you guys. And until next time, bye for now.